What is going on, YouTube? This is Ask the Root. So I'm going to review the debut mixtape of Lil Reese. Basically, this project is called Don't Like, and it came out in the summer of 2012. Basically, Lil Reese is an affiliate of Chief Keef, and Chief Keef had a large hit single that came out throughout 2012, and that was called I Don't Like, which featured Lil Reese, and that caused him to get a remix by Kanye West and drop an album later in 2012 and that type of stuff. But it was a pretty revolutionary song, helped introduce and help paved the road and trailblazed more for the drill type subgenre, and also was a good part of early 2010s rap music as far as like a dominant kind of song as far as that kind of went. It was just an overall kind of highlight and was a meme song and some of that type of stuff. But Lil Reese, he kind of, I don't think he ever dropped an album, but he did drop some mixtapes, and he was kind of on the same crest wave as like Chief Keef was at the time. Chief Keef wound up getting blacklisted after early 2013, but Lil Reese had a number of hits, and it's kind of like the affiliation when you think of folks like how Gucci Mane kind of introduced Waka Flocka Flame and OJ the Juice Man and some of those type folks. It was kind of the same aspect that Chief Keef helped, or not wholesomely helped, but Chief Keef was a part of like the movement that kind of also was here with Lil Reese as far as that kind of went. I don't wholesomely feel like Lil Reese was like a wingman entirely, like a full blown, like almost like flunky like of Chief Keef, but he was kind of in the same vernacular. And Chief Keef does pop up on here a couple of times, and Chief Keef's producer from Back from the Dead, that mixtape from 2012, Young Chop, is on here. So Young Chop, I don't know every single beat that he produces, but I do at least know that he produces the song Us or Traffic, one of the two. I feel like one of those songs basically are produced by Young Chop, which is a Chief Keef producer and that type of stuff. But I just would have to say that this album's a little bit tricky to kind of review like that, just because the concept behind it is there's not really articles of information about it. Now, Lil Reese does at least have a Wikipedia article, but it doesn't have individual things about this particular project. There is one about his 2013 mixtape Super Savage, but I haven't gotten to that one yet. But I just would have to say Don't Like was the debut one, and this is the one that has some of his singles on there. So there were two singles, at least Us and Traffic. And I just kind of feel like the concept behind it, this is very much like in the same valve as Chief Keef. Just to talk about that a little bit more, if you like Back from the Dead by Chief Keef, and you especially like the vibe of I Don't Like with Chief Keef and Lil Reese on there, this is the same kind of context of a lot of these. I would have to say that it kind of has light drill in there, but it's just a lot more of like gloomy and kind of very horrorcore-esque type stuff, the same stuff that Chief Keef was doing around that time. Kind of has that aspect pretty, I mean, this is going to get a pretty rave score, this particular mixtape, just because it's kind of a thrilling one. I actually like this project more than I like Chief Keef's Back from the Dead, where I did like that one, and that one managed to have 4 singles and a lot of good stuff, but I kind of look after it. This one kind of has some real haunting beats on here. The singles are good choices, and I feel like the concept is just kind of kept to a lighter minimum, and as a result there's more quality songs that just kind of happen to have that aspect. So I just would have to say, I mean, it's too bad that these songs didn't quite crest over, but I feel like these were at least on the tip of being underground hits that just kind of paved the road and that sort of thing, just to kind of get that kind of Chicago and East Coast kind of drill kind of mapped out a little bit more as far as that kind of went. It's just interesting. Maybe it's Midwest drill, but the kind of concept, just being able to see some of these as far as that kind of went. So yeah, I mean, Chief Keef kind of shows his support on this project. So if you like the stuff from Back to the Dead, this would be a good companion piece to that, to download both these mixtapes. And I remember saying in the Chief Keef review that I think Chief Keef was like the 11th most popular mixtape, the Back from the Dead from 2012, and this one was like 48th, 49th out of 50 or something like that, maybe 47th, something like that. It was in the top 50, so this is another highlighted one that just had a lot of valve towards it. And I definitely, like I said, I just recommend kind of picking some of these up just because, or just downloading them rather, just because they do have like a pretty good affluence, and this is just a good taste. Like, it's not quite as club oriented. Chief Keef kind of steps out more than Lil Reese does, but I do feel like there are some moments on here that kind of have that very much gloomy and just kind of overall sparkling kind of horrorcore themed type stuff, as far as it being just kind of a combination of drill with a light bit of trap in there, and then some kind of just ghoulish kind of ruminating and kind of more slightly haunted club cuts, and just overall night oriented type life as far as that kind of goes. So talk about the singles. The first single is Us. This is one of the two singles that at least Wikipedia lists that came from this project. So the first single is Us, and this is just kind of like a cousin of I Don't Like by Chief Keef. Same type of themed type sound that it has. Very much like a drill song, has that same kind of pounding street type vibes of it. It's a heavy kind of stunt song just for like a regular club night. This is definitely one to kind of throw money around and just flex a little bit and have some good stunt and kind of fun as far as that kind of goes. This kind of a more ballin' kind of song as far as that kind of goes. But I would have to say it's just kind of a street cut, just in like the pounding sense, and it just kind of has that overall night oriented vibe. One of the few kind of club songs on here. I mean, I feel like I Don't Like by Chief Keef is kind of another one that's kind of in that same valve, and that song you can actually find on this project too. But in terms of like the stepping out kind of vibes that just kind of were oriented on Chief Keef's Back from the Dead mixtape, it's kind of more, there's just a lot more kind of nightlife just traversing through like the streets and the city life, and just the outdoor kind of feels towards it more so than just hanging out at a club and getting drunk and that type of stuff. So this is kind of the concept where it's just kind of, this is at least a good highlight, and it's just got a real pounding kind of beat, this real kind of a real kind of head pounding thumping kind of beat on the song Us. You know, I could kind of actually say that Traffic, the second single, is like another club song. This one's just a very leery, kind of horror sounding track. This has a more frenetic kind of pace, and it's just a lot more festive for like a crazed kind of night. And this is kind of a wide awake kind of song. I definitely feel like this song kind of has the aspect of just not being kind of blurred or drowsy or something like that. This is kind of one where your eyes are wide awake and you're just kind of having some fun, that type of stuff, as far as like a regular kind of festive kind of night. And this is kind of, it's a leery song. This one's more horror oriented than some songs on here, but a lot of this album does, or a lot of this mixtape does have a lot of horrorcore kind of vibes about it. So this is just an example of one that kind of has that leery kind of sense. It's a pretty nice single. Chief Keef is on here, and they bounce off the song pretty well as far as that kind of goes. I just would have to say it's just an overall highlight. This one kind of has like real kind of ravenous kind of club energy. So this is just kind of a good one, considering that this mixtape is free and that type of stuff. It's a good, easy kind of two hits to kind of have for like some pretty night oriented club shifts, as far as just kind of weaving through the night and that type of stuff. So to kind of talk about the rest of this mixtape, there's 10 songs on here, and the only song I didn't enjoy out of those 10 songs was just Beef, which had also Lil Durk and Fredo Santana on there. So that is kind of the concept as far as that kind of goes. I mean, the reason why I didn't enjoy Beef that much was just because there's a lot going on in the beat on that song. I feel like Beef had a lot going on in it, had a lot of ad-libs, auto-tune, and sound effects going on that just made it kind of more messy than what it was trying to be, and it was just difficult to kind of appreciate the beat and the lyrics on the song, just because there was so much kind of coming at you all at once. It was just kind of a lot, just like the synchronization of it just didn't quite match up as much. But every other song out of these 10 songs I enjoyed. There's definitely some easy, immediate highlights. Like, I feel like one of the most sparkling beats on here is Savage. This one's just a real kind of sparkling club cut, and it's just an overall festive kind of social number, and it's a good song to put some drinks up to. Definitely feel like this is an easy kind of club highlight. This one's a little bit more flashy and commercial than Traffic's. Not quite as drill oriented and quite as like leery kind of trap type stuff. But I do kind of feel like it's just a little bit more commercial than the song Us, and not quite as ravenous and quite as like bruising as far as that kind of concerns. But I do feel like this is just kind of a nice kind of almost like R&B kind of an R&B type tune, the sort of stuff that like 2 Chainz and some of those type cats were doing, Tyga and some of them, and DJ Mustard, that type of stuff. So it's kind of a sparkling club cut. I feel like a nice one that kind of has like some more late night vibes is Ova with Freddie Gibbs. This one's just kind of like a real kind of, this is, I would say, a nice gleaming lyric cut on this mixtape is Ova with Freddie Gibbs. This is just a real late night kind of song. This kind of feels like something past like 10:30, 11:30 p.m., something like that. Midnight, 1 a.m., something like that. This one just kind of feels like a pulsating type song. It's just a really good swooper just for kind of going around and just kind of having some good vibes as far as that kind of goes. Just, I have to reemphasize, it's just very pulsating. It kind of has that leery kind of gleaming type feel towards it. It's just an overall just late flashy kind of highlight as far as that kind of goes. The song I Don't Like with Chief Keef is on here again. So this is like another pounding. Just if you didn't see the Chief Keef Back from the Dead review I did last month, this is just kind of a pounding drill cut, and it's a meme song. It's just a pounding drill cut and like a meme song. It's a mid-horror kind of party jam as far as that kind of goes. It is kind of a party cut, and this is another kind of club cut apart from Us, Traffic, and Savage, but I would have to say it's just a little bit more kind of thumping and more of like a stomping around kind of song as far as that kind of goes. Just a real hop and bop kind of stunting and kind of flex song as far as that kind of went. And it's just kind of an internet kind of sensation and revolutionary kind of song. It's definitely one. It made sense. It made sense that the mixtape was named after the song I Don't Like, just because it was a large song out of the early 2010s and continued to carry a lot of damage and noise. That's definitely the concept about it. It's just a real pounding kind of drill cut. I feel like Bad is a pretty good song. This one just is really like a ghostly kind of hollow ruminating cut, and this one just has some night fare towards it. Bad is like a real nice ghostly and hollow kind of ruminating cut, some real nice dope night fare. It's just kind of more of a relaxed song, but still kind of has that mid energy kind of night fare as far as that kind of goes. Just an overall good one for that. Just more kind of horrorcore highlights as far as that kind of goes. The thing about like Lil Reese is the fact that he's not quite as like ravenous in his energy as Chief Keef, where he can do some of that drill stuff, but there is some more songs on here that are just kind of more relaxed, and the energy is just turned down some notches. I mean, he's kind of a street rapper, and he does have that edge towards him, but he's just not quite as temperamental as like Chief Keef is, where some of these songs are just not quite as like rage induced and just kind of more temperamental and that type stuff. So it's just interesting kind of get some of these kind of ruminating songs, because I don't recall Chief Keef really doing ruminating songs. So I feel like Bad is kind of like that, and Rap Shit's kind of like that too. Speaking of some more ruminating songs, Rap Shit's a real nice one. This one's just kind of a ghoulish ruminating track about the day-to-day kind of life, just that type of stuff. They kind of talk about what they with the rap oriented type stuff that they're going through. It's just a relatively kind of mellow song. It's just a good ruminating song and just kind of a more haunted and horrorcore type vibe. It's just another kind of leery and just ghostly kind of sounding beat. I just really like that one. And then I would say that Nothing is a nice one too. This is a real short song, but Nothing's just kind of a demon time and graveyard shift kind of song. This one just kind of has like some real, I mean, these are a lot of, basically the whole project is just pretty ghostly. It's just one thing to sit there and know, but this is definitely kind of a graveyard shift kind of song, and this feels rather comfortable. It's kind of regular night vibes. It's kind of relaxation. Maybe you're playing like some video game like Devil May Cry or something like that, or Grand Theft Auto, something to that mix. It's kind of a nice, easy night, but it's also can just be out and about. But I just feel like some of these, I mean, they're kind of indoor house party kind of vibes, but they're also kind of outdoor. But the pace on like Rap Shit, Nothing, and Bad are so relatively mellow. It just is kind of underneath the impression that maybe these are not just club hopping and kind of bar hopping type party type vibes as far as that kind of goes. But I do feel like they just kind of have some good vibes about them. The hook is pretty decent on Nothing also. It's a pretty different one. I think I've heard this Johnny May Cash on Chief Keef's project before too. He kind of has a nice auto-tuned one. This is relatively brief. This is just kind of a quickie song, but this is another kind of ruminating type song. That this is very leery and graveyard shift. This kind of feels like after hours kind of energy about it. That's a nice one. And then We Don't Count Money is another highlight. This is like a crazed kind of club night, just some quick money flashiness, and I feel like this is kind of a hypnotic kind of track. It's kind of more, I mean, the beat is not quite as ravenous as like some of the stuff that Chief Keef would do, or even songs like Us and I Don't Like, or like Traffic and some of the singles and the more music video oriented type stuff, or even Beef, the one song I didn't enjoy. But I feel like it's just kind of like a relative, I mean, it's kind of crazy, but I just feel like it just doesn't have like the sheer, like I'd probably say the energy on this song is about an 8.5 or something like that, where it's just a very flashy kind of, you know, throw money around type song, and it's just kind of a hypnotic kind of syrupy kind of beat on there. But it's just kind of one, it's just kind of an in-between kind of song, where it's a secondary kind of club cut. It's another one for stepping out like Us, Traffic, and Savage, but it's just not quite as ravenous as those type songs. It's good. It's definitely crazy. One of the more energized songs, but it's just kind of secondary in terms of like the club nights. That's just good. And really Hell Rel from Dipset's on here, so that's another nice touch just to kind of get that kind of vibe. So yeah, all in all, me liking 9 songs out of 10 on this mixtape. I think you can tell that this project's going to get a 10. It's going to get a 10 out of 10. The social score I'll go ahead and give like the social score I'm going to give a 9 out of 10 because there is some quality on here, but I feel like this is still kind of something where I feel like some folks might think of Lil Reese as just like Chief Keef's kind of wingman, where I feel like the singles did well, but they just didn't quite crest over as far as trying to reach like even like the rap and the R&B and hip hop charts as far as that kind of goes. So neither of the singles really charted at all. So I just kind of look after it where it just kind of feels like it's just strictly kind of hardcore sense as far as messing with it, which kind of downplays it some. But these were large songs. Like I said, Dat Piff said that this mixtape was like 48th, 49th out of 50 of the best mixtapes of 2012. So that should really say something. It did at least get some degree of attention. It was another one that helped spearhead drill. It was kind of good in the trap oriented sense, and just overall had some horrorcore kind of sounding and just kind of ghoulish the whole way through. I mean, despite the fact that this album came out in summer, this really was kind of a haunting and just kind of more autumn and winter kind of album, just in the chilliness that it kind of had. It's really kind of cool weather type stuff that just kind of had that kind of vibe. I mean, yeah, I would have said if the singles would have done better, it probably would have been a 10, but for what it is pretty quality. It's chock full of stuff. I feel like songs like Traffic, Us, Savage, um, don't like, and We Count Money are some club hits, and there's some ruminating songs like Rap Shit, Nothing, and Bad. And then there's like one other song like Ova's just kind of like a late night cut just for kind of nightlife, just as far as kind of being out and about and just being wide awake and that type of stuff. So it's just some good oriented stuff as far as that kind of goes. It's just the question of whether or not how many folks are going to recognize it and acknowledge about as far as willing to give it a whirl and that type of stuff. So that's this kind of thing. But in terms of the future, I don't really know what Lil Reese has been up to these days. I mean, Chief Keef has kind of been quiet these past few years. I think the mixtape scene kind of died down some, so it's just not quite as adamant as it was back in 2012, 2014. But I just would have to kind of say that there is some more stuff, and this is a pretty good highlight. Once again, it's got a 10 out of 10, so definitely delve into this and download it.